So welcome to Profile 3 TV, and today we're joined by Marta Greenlee. So Marta, thank you very much for taking time out to join us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent. And you work in helping develop properties to their full potential.
Yes, I sort of call it developing properties that are underperforming into high-performing properties, but areas more specifically.
Incredible. Excellent. And we're going to talk about a load of things today, but especially around the tourism niche as well, and areas, as you say, that maybe aren't as attractive or appeasing to people to come and visit. So that's your background and specialism then.
It is. And it's 1/2 real estate valuation, and that's the dollars and cents of it, and that's who hires me really. And then it's another half of, social conscience, my background in anthropology, and the messaging that you are providing as a community of who you are, and to make sure that nothing is lost, that it's authentic, and that it's, best for the society and area that receives the benefit for such tourism.
Incredible. And you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit of your background and how you got into this?
It's interesting when I thought about that, when you get project on project on project, you don't think about how did I get from one place to another and what my trajectory was. But when thinking about it, my great-grandfather was one of the largest Portuguese map collectors. And he went all over the world collecting Portuguese maps, who are obviously incredible, prolific explorers. And my grandfather was an archaeologist and was in Europe and studied the movement of prehistoric peoples and Native Americans in the United States. I also have a background in anthropology, and my father was a record producer. So at a very early age, I would go on tour. And you didn't quite realize it, but understanding from an early perspective, logistics, tour schedules, how those sort of things impacted me. And as I went through college and lost my father, my mom ended up wanting a travel companion to go on a number of educational tours, which I was happy and amazed to do because I traveled a lot. And it just gave me such an interesting position as being younger, going on some of these older educational tours with anthropologists that were incredible, but also a little bit of foresight in the advantage of going on tours in the United States as in abroad.
Incredible. And then your job today, then what does it involve? What do you do in your day-to-day?
My day-to-day is, I work on a number of projects at the same time. So some of my projects are in the digital space, and I work on user experience, and that's always ran concurrently with my work in tourism, because the tourism projects it's as it is, project to project, development to development. I'm now moving to Spain and going to be looking a little bit more in the European market, and I've done some work there on advisement on the EU, but it's looking like I'm going to develop a bit more there.
Wow, incredible. And do you see, it's very interesting, so do you see a crossover from the digital space, UI, UX, into real life, or real life into the digital? So user experience, the visuals are so important?
The visuals are so important, but with UX, they're really polar opposite, because if you get too much in one day on a tour, and when we were doing the street art tours on Vespa, and you would see so much, you have a threshold and you can't take anymore. So it just depends on the type of tourism you're looking at with UX. It's really important in UX to understand how much people are going to take, and understand their threshold. They've got about 3 seconds, then they move on. But if someone's really depending on the aim of their tourism and the type of tour you're offering, you have to adjust that speed, because taking too much in person is exhausting.
Wow.
And I was on a tour in China in 2004, and I kind of called it the China's Greatest Hits tours, because the speed really was not adjusted for American consumers. Even when you're consuming culture as well, you can take in 2 to 3 things a day. But it was about, and this is just when it opened, and my uncle was an economist and writer, and we went with him, and it was just boom, 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 and you couldn't take it. You couldn't take it. It was too tiring. So I think that UX is everywhere, whether we're consuming digital content or in real life content.
Incredible. And you raised such an important point. Yourself as an American tourist in China, and obviously we're talking and thinking of Ireland here and our own tourism, and obviously we have a lot of American tourists coming, and if we're pitching our experiences to our own culture and mindset, we might totally misjudge our tourists coming in.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Anything's possible. I mean, but that's where, you have, it's difficult to make a very fatal error in that. Here's one example of where things might not hit the mark would be if you are presenting a thorough history of a historic landmark that has, for example, a lot of torture. I've been on a lot of, as part of my job, I go on a lot of tours, and you can lose Americans real fast, because they're not, it's like kind of a Disney World good time, unless in the way you message it is important. So if they understand and their expectations are managed, that the tour they're going on has a dark history, then you'll get that audience that you want, and your messaging is more clear. But a lot of times, if you're developing tourism programs, it's really important to be as specific as possible with managing the expectations going in on what is the content that they're going to be consuming, what you're going to get out of it. And a lot, what I've been working on most recently is the ability for tourism to transform a person in a way that, that's what people really have craved about, experiencing other cultures, is that transformation element.
Incredible. That's very interesting. So basically what you're focused on is so if I went on a tour, it's actually, I actually, I'm so touched by the tour itself that it actually, I change, or a different point of view because of that. Yes.
I mean, it's lofty, and not many tours, especially if a tour guide is, and in developing these programs, you want to make sure you have your guides fresh. So when we were doing, for example, the tours in Miami, we had actual street artists who were giving the tours, and they wouldn't be giving them so often. We didn't have people that were regular. We wanted to make sure that this was just a side gig for them. They made money. They got, they didn't actually want press, which was hard, because when that first started in street art, they were graffiti artists. So a lot of times they had, records, and didn't want to, which made it, and of course, incredible content. But it changed a lot. And you're not going to, it has to be something that people feel like they're getting the first time, that they're making a connection with the place, or they're making a connection with the guide. The script has to be a few points, but the training of guides and the interviewing and the messaging you have is really important to someone's experience of being transformed by a place, or thinking, I'm never going to look at something the same way again, and putting it in a socio-political context that they can really feel inspired or transformed to change.
Incredible. I never even thought there was so much to even street tours. Incredible how much you have to consider and take into account.
Try transformational retreats.
Very good.
That is next level.
Yeah. Amazing. And it's incredible to think, as you say, the graffiti artists, how things have changed. Even here in Ireland, we love. You've all these derelict buildings, and you see some amazing pieces of work.
Well, think about space, for a minute, and what it does. And this is universal. What it does when anyone sees, and we have a lot of this in the United States right now as well. And anyone sees blight, things that are broken, things that are unused, of course, that goes hand in hand with a lot of social unrest. And when you have things like street art, and it shows that people are starting to care, and community gardens are another one. People really, it's about building community within, and that's the amazing potential of tourism. And we have so much access now that people don't need to just see pictures. They need to have an experience of a place and people that goes a little bit deeper and is very, very authentic, which is kind of a buzzword that doesn't none of it.
Yeah, no buzzwords.
Yeah.
No buzzwords allowed. So do you think factors such as economics and the economy and politics and all these, the politics, I guess, the local environment, have a major impact on tourism then as well?
Of course. I mean, they have, with, globalization. I think when I first got out of school, it was such an unknown. Like, how is, not such an unknown, but how are, genetically modified foods going to impact the entire food system? How is the internet widespread and the spread of globalization? How is that going to impact society? How is this going to impact, our own evolution? And tourism is such a wonderful example of that on a small scale, because it's so much easier to get places. I mean, traveling to Europe, and I mean, even Asia, in the years since I graduated and I was in Asia, there, you really didn't see that a huge number of young Western people. And now we really have no boundaries. And the types of, it's going to be interesting to see as we're seeing more commentary on borders and boundaries and entry and exit points, how that's going to affect tourism, how trade affects tourism and the perception of different cultures, that you can't help. And that's why tourism, in my opinion, is so important, because when you travel somewhere, you can't help but be transformed by a culture and a people. And the better interaction and messaging, and the more you understand that everyone really is the same. Everyone's just doing the best they can and have really unique backgrounds. I think that's why we have the rise in Airbnb. People aren't scared anymore. People want to have that connection with the place and live like a local. I mean, these are, and all of that so heavily connected to tourism.
Incredible. And what do you think then when we talk about experiences being unique from place to place? What do you think makes experiences unique?
It depends on the person and the background of the person. You can be, and I have a knack at this professionally, of being really intuitive in what a group is looking for and what would just be the next level of experience to just throw in the mix, whether it is, specialized blessings from a holy person locally, or it could be something as simple as ice cream at a particular time in the day. And that, it's really attention. It's really being mindful of your audience and paying attention to each person in front of you, as this is from someone who, as a tour operator and a venue manager, and in addition to someone who has like been on the other side many times, is it's just the attention someone pays you. It's the highest compliment you can get. And when you start to pay attention to the people when you're doing, for example, when you're developing tourism and you hire a tour operator, you'll notice that the better tour operators have, you know, it's not really a paycheck. They really are connected to their, wherever they're showing, their neighborhood. It can be a garden, it can be, and they get excited without going to, but one of the biggest points is how they connect with other people.
Amazing.
You know, not in a way that really makes them feel like, oh, you know, you start to develop a rapport, and that's the most amazing thing. And that's what makes things authentic and memorable. And that's what keeps people coming back to places too, or just spreading more information about it and saying, you know, this, I thought it was this, and it's really like this. And that kind of really authentic communication between people is what drives that tourism.
Incredible. And do you see, so good advice there for anyone thinking of what they should be doing. Have you seen many mistakes that companies or tours or tour operators have done, or maybe too many to list?
Well, a lot of the tour operators try to, it's all, they're kind of the same. They pack too much in, and some tour guides are a little too timid to show too much personality. I've never had a tour guide, but this is me personally. I've never had a tour guide that I thought was just too much. You know, in terms of, you know, of course, like if you're at Disney World and you have a cartoon, the cartoonish tours are not great, but a really authentic, great tour guide has, you know, all the hallmarks of, you know, some of the things of that culture, plays it, has a great sense of humor, easygoing, understands logistics. Logistics are everything. I mean, in tourism, in venues, you have to have someone who's got and those are the people behind the scenes, because that's really where it's difficult, is making sure the baseline needs are met. The food is good, they have correct transportation, everything runs on time, and they have access to bathrooms.
All the critical things.
Until I managed and helped develop a venue, I never thought about the importance of bathrooms. And sadly, I think the last 6 months I've thought about with these huge events, they're front and center.
It's incredible. No, you're totally right. And actually, when you're explaining it, it all makes, you know, perfect sense. But never thought of it before. And the importance you're highlighting of the location, the place, and the people as well. The tour guides, incredible. Never together make the experience. So very, very interesting. So again, I know you've got a lot of expertise in digital marketing as well. So you think digital marketing has a big part to play in tourism moving forward?
Yeah, for sure, because that's the first place people look. It's the easiest. Mm-hmm. If there were, and there's so many travel websites, I prefer video. I think everyone agrees. In that type of content, the video is king, especially at the moment, with holding people's attention, the attention of a goldfish. So it really does, because people need an entry point. I think the best advice that you're going to be going towards is a little bit away. If I had to, you know, sort of put my 2 cents in that, I think it really is going to be going away from the travel websites like TripAdvisor, or, you know, some of the more routine reviews, the Yelp, and other bases that really have to do with your personal connections, experience of places.
Wow.
So the type of engagement they're doing on Instagram, for example, I'm a little bit of a snot about it. So if I see Iceland too much, I'm like, oh, who cares? It's over. I don't want to go. But many people say are not like that, because I'm sadly very contrary. And most people would say, like, Iceland, that's amazing. They're having this great time in Iceland. I need to go look out at that. And then you have other content that comes in on your feeds from those digital ads. So in the ad space, I think the Instagram ads, there's some places in Guatemala that I followed for work that I think are doing an incredible job.
Incredible.
So it's, yeah, the digital, people are so digital right now, but they don't want their experiences to be that much if you're going to have a real one. Now, it also, I think, depends a lot on how millennials are and how they want to document their travel. You have different types of travelers. So keeping that in mind as well.
Incredible. And you have a retreat concept as well, or you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about that?
Not at all, not at all. I was hired by the same person who developed this area in Miami called Wynwood with the street art. We worked in the same space, the same like marketing space. He was just one of the developers. He hired me to develop a retreat concept for him, and it's private, and it is basically an eco retreat that's designed and built on sacred geometry principles, and is rented, and it's rented out privately. So we've done a number of very large scale private events that last several days, and some corporate events that last 5 days. So that kind of, and I initially was hired to do more of the concept and the messaging, and then ended up as a venue manager, which was totally new, and doing a lot of the heavy lifting in production. And it's fascinating, because that's a model that's really, really hot right now, of going, whether it's in yoga, whether people are doing retreats for, very deep healing and transformation. A lot of thought leaders are going on these retreats and having experiences that challenge them. We do digital detoxes, so there's no phones, there's very limited, the marketing is all word of mouth. So, and that has been remarkably challenging, because in order to provide someplace that is free of distraction is like the opposite of so much tourism. A lot of tourism models have been more like, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And this really is, don't look at anything. We need to have your baseline needs met. Everyone is completely calm, but underneath, those logistics are still going on, to make sure that like lighting is coming on at the right time, the candles are lit at the correct moment, that music is balanced correctly, that the people who are giving ecological tours or tours of local temples are properly trained, and their messaging is completely airtight. And that's over multiple days. That's where the transformation that I was really referring to, more in depth. And because when people come to retreat centers, they are looking to be profoundly transformed. They're asking you to deliver a promise of, I'm going to leave here and feel profoundly different. And for tourism, it's amazing for, protecting ecology, providing awareness around conservation. But from a production perspective, it's pretty challenging.
Wow, how unique! What an experience! So that's incredible. And as you say, it is. I would have seen some really, really, really global personas or personalities going on global retreats. So that's really interesting that you're heavily involved in that and seeing that locally as well. So very interesting for the future.
It's a wonderful, wonderful model for, everyone could use one. It is like sort of like the epitome of relaxation, with just a bit of expanded lectures and, but nothing overwhelming, so that you really can go deep within a group and within yourself. and those that it's globally as a model, they're popping up everywhere. Some of them are like private memberships, some of them are just other concepts, so they're really coming up everywhere. And the more you have these, most of them have, you know, their own farms. So you have like agritourism, you have incredible like culinary opportunities in these. So depending on the way that you're positioned, and as a region, you're really, if you have larger tour companies that are doing sort of a package, a one-day stop in, you know, in some place to just regroup in that complete serene environment where you can take in everything you've seen and synthesize it, is really invaluable if you're talking about regional tours.
Incredible. Amazing. And I have to ask, so what is one of your favorite, or your favorite travel experience or travel location?
Right before I started developing tours, and I also worked with a company called American Excursionist, which worked with the UK, and we sold tours that I helped develop in America to what is it, Abercrombie and Kent, which is a big tour company there. But one of my favorite, what had got me really thinking and considering travel as transformation, which it had been in the periphery. I'd always loved to travel. I always felt wanderlust and experienced that. But I was on a tour and was in Varanasi. And when you're in a space that is one of the most sacred spaces in the world for people, it wasn't, you know, when you go on a cruise and then at dawn and at dusk, you're on the Ghats, which is where the ritual, the Hindu burning of bodies is. And it's the most amazing experience because it's not sad, and it's the by having their loved ones in this space and performing that ritual, it means that their loved ones automatically transcend reincarnation and reach moksha. And that for me was, you know, anytime, everyone's experienced grief, right? But seeing people so incredibly happy and the energy around that type of transformation that had been going on for thousands and thousands of years, I found that in combination with Nepal. I find that the transformational travel that's steeped in history, human evolution, those for me are definitely rank highest. Amazing. I've got worse ones that are funny, but the religious ones are best.
Very good. Noted. So transformation, that's I'm going to have, I haven't had the pleasure, but I'm going to take your advice. So thank you for that. So again, amazing education today and what's happening and what's hot and how to actually properly plan some tours. So what's next on the plan for yourself? And if anyone's watching this and would like to get in touch and actually leverage some of your expertise and experience in creating tours, how can they actually get in touch?
They can get in touch with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And I also have a website with a portfolio of some of the examples of work I've done. And now I'm moving to Europe and going to be doing some work in Spain. Again, I think Europe has a lot of interest from the United States in this type of transformational tourism. There's a ton of tourism. It's getting less and less expensive to travel and transcend those borders. And I also have digital clients who don't really care where I work. Making it easy.
Enough said. No, thank you very much. What we'll have is underneath the video, we'll have links to your social sites and your website, and welcome to Europe. Look forward to see, and we look forward to the next chat we have. So thank you very much for taking time out to talk to us today and sharing your expertise.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Amazing. Excellent. And thank you for watching Profile 3 TV today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video and you learned loads. Don't forget to check the links below and connect with Marta. And hopefully we see you in tomorrow's video. So thank you again.